Rain lashed the city, each drop a tiny hammer against the pavement, creating a symphony of chaos that echoed through the empty streets. The relentless downpour blurred the neon lights of the city, turning them into smudges of color against the dark canvas of the night. A cold wind whipped through the alleyway, carrying with it the scent of damp concrete and the unmistakable tang of fear. The wind seemed to whisper secrets, tales of the city's underbelly that were better left untold. The alley was a place of shadows where the light dared not venture. The damp concrete walls seemed to close in, creating a claustrophobic atmosphere that pressed down on anyone who dared to enter. Police lights pulsed, casting an eerie glow on the scene. The red and blue lights flickered like a heartbeat, a stark reminder of the life that had been snuffed out in this grim corner of the city. A body lay sprawled on the slick pavement, a stark silhouette against the grimy brick walls. The rain had washed away some of the blood, but the dark stains remained, a testament to the violence that had occurred. Blood pooled around the figure, reflecting the flashing red and blue lights. The puddles of blood seemed to pulse with the rhythm of the police lights, creating a macabre dance of color and death. Detective Jack Williams, his trench coat pulled tight against the rain, stepped into the alley, ready to face the darkness. His eyes, sharp and unyielding, scanned the scene, taking in every detail, every clue that might lead him to the truth. The air crackled with tension, a palpable energy that seemed to vibrate through the alley. It was as if the very walls were holding their breath, waiting for the next move in this deadly game. Officers moved with practiced efficiency, securing the perimeter, their faces grim. They had seen scenes like this before, but it never got easier. Each crime scene was a fresh wound on the city's already scarred surface. This was not a random act of violence. The precision, the cold calculation, all pointed to something far more sinister. This was a message, a statement made in blood. This was a deliberate act, a calculated execution. The killer had taken their time, ensuring that the message was clear, that the fear would spread like wildfire through the city's underworld. Williams, a seasoned veteran of the city's underbelly, could smell it in the air, the stench of violence, of secrets buried deep. He knew that this was just the beginning, that the darkness had only just begun to reveal its true face. Detective Jack Williams was a force of nature. His presence commanded respect, and his reputation preceded him wherever he went. In the dark alleys and shadowy corners of the city, his name was whispered with a mix of fear and admiration. His eyes, sharp as a hawk's, missed nothing. They were the eyes of a man who had seen too much, yet remained undeterred. Every glance was a calculated move, every blink a moment of deep contemplation. He possessed an unwavering focus, a laser-like determination to untangle the truth. In the dim light of his office, surrounded by case files and evidence boards, he would spend countless hours piecing together the puzzle of each case. Years on the force had hardened him, etched lines of experience into his face. Each wrinkle told a story, each scar a testament to battles fought and won. His rugged appearance was a badge of honor, a symbol of his relentless pursuit of justice. He had seen the worst of humanity, yet he clung to the belief that justice, however elusive, was worth fighting for. The city, with its dark secrets and hidden dangers, was his battlefield, and he was its unwavering guardian. He surveyed the scene, his gaze sweeping over every detail. The flicker of his flashlight revealed clues that others might overlook. To Williams, every piece of evidence was a thread in the intricate web of the case. The victim, a young man, lay face down, his clothes ripped and bloodied. The scene was a grim reminder of the city's underbelly, a place where innocence was often lost and lives were cut short. Williams crouched beside the body, careful not to disturb the scene. His trained eyes took in every detail, from the position of the body to the blood spatter patterns. Each observation brought him closer to understanding the events that had transpired. He noted the expensive watch still clasped to the victim's wrist, the absence of a wallet. These details painted a picture, one that suggested a motive beyond mere theft. This was not a robbery gone wrong. The pieces of the puzzle were beginning to fall into place, but the full picture was still elusive. Williams knew that the truth was out there, waiting to be uncovered, and he was determined to find it, no matter the cost. The victim's hands told a story. Bruises circled both wrists, deep and angry. Williams examined them closely, his brow furrowed in thought. The markings were peculiar, too uniform to be random. They spoke of restraint, of a desperate struggle. But what had been used to subdue the victim, and why? He noticed something else, something easily overlooked. A faint imprint on the victim's left wrist, barely visible beneath the bruising. It was the distinct pattern of woven leather. A bracelet? A watch strap? The clue, whatever it was, gnawed at Williams's mind. It was a piece of the puzzle, a whisper in the darkness.
Negative.
The victim was identified as Evan Brooks, a name that sent ripples of recognition through the precinct. Brooks was not just any ordinary criminal. He was a figure who had danced on the fringes of legality for years. His name was synonymous with trouble, and his presence was a constant thorn in the side of law enforcement. The detectives knew that this case was going to be anything but straightforward. Brooks had been a minor player in the city's criminal underworld, known for his quick temper and even quicker fists. He was the kind of man who could start a fight with a glance and end it with a punch. His reputation for violence was well earned, and it made him both feared and respected in equal measure. But despite his tough exterior, there were whispers of a more complex man beneath the surface. His rap sheet was a laundry list of petty theft, assault, and drug possession. Each entry told a story of a man who had spent his life skirting the edges of the law. From his early days as a small-time thief to his later years as a seasoned criminal, Brooks had always found himself on the wrong side of the law. Yet, for all his misdeeds, there was nothing in his past that suggested he was destined for such a violent end. But nothing to warrant this level of violence. The scene of his death was a gruesome tableau, a stark contrast to the petty crimes that had defined his life. Blood spattered the walls and the signs of a violent struggle were evident. It was clear that whoever had done this had a personal vendetta against Brooks. This was not a random act of violence, it was a calculated execution. Williams delved into Brooks's past, piecing together the fragments of a life lived on the edge. He spent countless hours sifting through old photographs, trying to find a clue that might explain why Brooks had been targeted. His office became a chaotic mess of papers and photos, each one a potential piece of the puzzle. The more he learned about Brooks, the more he realized how little he actually knew. He interviewed old contacts, scoured police records, and traced Brooks's movements in the days leading up to his death. Each interview revealed a new layer of Brooks's life, a new piece of the puzzle. The police records were a treasure trove of information, each file a glimpse into the world Brooks had inhabited. Williams followed every lead, no matter how small, hoping to find the key to solving the mystery. The deeper he dug, the more he realized that Brooks was entangled in a web of deceit and betrayal. The connections he uncovered painted a picture of a man who had made many enemies. Each thread of the web led to a new revelation, a new betrayal. It became clear that Brooks had been living on borrowed time, his every move watched by those who wanted him gone. Someone had wanted him silenced, permanently. The threats Brooks had received were not idle, they were promises of what was to come. The dark alleys he had frequented now seemed even more menacing, each shadow hiding a potential threat. As Williams pieced together the final parts of the puzzle, he realized the gravity of the situation. Brooks's death was not just a murder, it was a message to anyone who dared to cross the line. Grainy footage from a nearby security camera offered a tantalizing clue. A shadowy figure, their face obscured by a hood, was seen fleeing the alleyway shortly after the estimated time of death. The figure was tall and slender, their gait hurried but purposeful. It was a start, but it was not enough. Williams spent hours poring over the footage, analyzing every frame, every shadow, every detail. He released the image to the public, hoping someone would recognize the figure. Tips poured in, but each one led to a dead end. The shadow remained an enigma, a ghost in the machine. Then in a flash of insight, it hit Williams. The wrist marks, the woven leather pattern. It wasn't a bracelet or a watch strap, it was a handcuff. Specifically a police-issued handcuff. The realization sent a chill down his spine. This was not just a random act of violence. This was personal. He remembered a name from Brooks's file, a name that had been mentioned multiple times. Terry Phillips. Phillips had been Brooks's partner in crime, his closest confidant. But their relationship had soured, ending in a bitter betrayal. Phillips, it turned out, had turned informant, providing the police with crucial information that had landed Brooks behind bars. A search warrant for Phillips's apartment was swiftly obtained. The raid was swift and decisive. Inside they found a treasure trove of incriminating evidence. The murder weapon, blood-stained clothing, and a pair of handcuffs, one of which bore a faint trace of Brooks's DNA. Phillips was apprehended as he attempted to flee his apartment, his face a mask of fear and desperation. The evidence against Phillips was overwhelming. He confessed to the murder, driven by a potent cocktail of rage, resentment, and a desire for revenge. The betrayal, he claimed, had cut him deep, festering inside him until it exploded in a fit of murderous fury. Justice, though long in coming, had been served. The rain had stopped. The city lights, reflected in the puddles on the pavement, seemed to shine a little brighter. Williams stood in the alleyway, the scene of the crime now eerily quiet. The case was closed, but the memory of Evan Brooks, a life cut short by violence and betrayal, lingered. He thought about the countless hours he had poured into the investigation, the relentless pursuit of justice. It was a pursuit that demanded unwavering dedication, a willingness to descend into the darkest corners of the human soul, but it was a pursuit that he wouldn't trade for anything. For in the pursuit of justice, there was a glimmer of hope, a belief that even in the face of unimaginable darkness, the light could prevail. The fight for justice was a marathon, not a sprint. And it was a fight that Detective Jack Williams was prepared to wage until his very last breath, a reminder that even in the heart of the city, justice, though often elusive, was always worth fighting for.